When you're going through a breakup, it hurts, and logic doesn't really help, even when you know it was the right thing to do. Let's start by reframing what a breakup actually is, because most of the advice people receive assumes that the problem is emotional or psychological. And that framing alone creates a lot of unnecessary shame. When a relationship ends, the pain you experience isn't primarily about loss in the abstract. It's not just sadness or missing someone or wishing things had gone differently. No, those are certainly true. But also what's happening is that your nervous system has lost a primary organizing relationship, and it doesn't yet know what to do without that. When you're in a close bond, especially one that's emotionally significant to you, your body doesn't just care about the person. It organizes around them. Their presence becomes a part of how you regulate stress, how you anticipate connection, how you settle at the end of the day, and how you often imagine the future. Your breath, your rhythms, your expectations, even your sense of orientation in time subtly adapts to that bond. So when that relationship ends, the body doesn't experience it as a clean emotional event with a beginning and an end. It experiences it as a disruption to its internal order. And that's why breakups can feel disorienting in a very specific way. You can know intellectually that the relationship wasn't right for you. You can understand exactly why it ended. You might even still feel relieved in moments, and yet your body keeps pulling you back toward that person, toward contact, toward familiar sensations or patterns. And that doesn't mean that you're confused. It means your nervous system is trying to restore a state that it knows how to regulate. This is also why logic so often fails after a breakup. People are given advice that assumes that the problem is thinking. Remember the red flags, focus on their flaws, distract yourself, stay busy, move on. And those suggestions make sense if the pain is conceptual. But the pain isn't conceptual, it's regulatory. Now, before we go further, I want to offer one orientation that will matter for everything else in this relationship series. Different nervous systems experience rupture differently. Some systems move toward control when they're destabilized. Some move toward meaning making and analysis. Some oscillate between hope and despair. Some collapse into longing and self-abandonment. None of these responses are character flaws. They are patterns of regulation under stress. And if you're curious what orientation you tend to default to when you're under relational pressure, there's a Somatic Skins Quiz assessment linked below. So you can pause this video, go take that quiz, bring back your native skin. This is not a diagnosis and it's not superficial advice. It will help you to understand how your system reacts to loss and connectivity, which will make the rest of this series far more useful. Now, let's talk about a popular topic, no contact, because this is where misunderstanding in breakups often create more harm than healing. No contact is usually framed as a rule. You either follow it or you break it. People talk about it as discipline or strength or self-respect. But from a somatic perspective, no contact is amoral. It isn't a moral stance. It's just a regulation strategy. When someone feels an overwhelming urge to reach out and reconnect after a breakup, what's happening isn't just a lack of boundaries. The nervous system has lost a stabilizing input and it's reaching for the fastest available way to restore regulation. The body remembers that contact with this person brought relief, grounding, or orientation, even if the relationship itself was painful, or unstable. That's why the urge to text, check social media, replay conversations, or imagine future contact can feel almost physical. That's not just nostalgia, it is state dependency. Your system is trying to return to a known configuration rather than to experience the unknown that feels destabilizing. This also explains something many people feel ashamed of but rarely understand. Why breaking no contact just once can make everything feel worse. It's not because you failed or you lost progress on your rule. It's because the system briefly re-regulated when contact was reestablished, a dopamine hit, and then it destabilized even more sharply when that regulation disappeared again and reality hit. Seen in this way, the cycle makes sense. And when it makes sense, then it becomes workable. This framing also helps explain why closure is so unreliable. Closure assumes the nervous system is waiting for an explanation, that if you understood what happened or you hear the right information, the feelings will resolve. But the body doesn't reorganize through explanation. It reorganizes through experience, repetition, and new patterns of stability. You don't stop missing someone because the story finally makes sense. You stop missing them when your nervous system learns how to function without regulation that particular relationship once provided you. And that learning process takes some time, but not in the vague sense of just passively waiting out time the way that people imply. It takes time because certain capacities have to be rebuilt. The ability to settle yourself, to orient toward the future, to hold emotion without external containment, and often to experience pleasure or safety independently for yourself again. Until those capacities come back online, the body keeps reaching backward, not just because it wants the past, because maybe you didn't want that, but because it wants stability. And this is why breakup advice often fails people, because it assumes that one recovery path fits everyone. But different nervous systems need different sequences of repair. Some people need structure before they can feel. Some need movement before clarity returns. Some need containment before openness. Some need to reestablish identity before intimacy makes sense again. When people follow advice that doesn't match their nervous system, they often harden when they need support, or analyze when they need sensation, or isolate when they need grounding. And then they assume that they're doing something wrong. In this series, in the following videos, we're going to slow this down and make it really practical. We'll look at how different nervous systems orient towards experience, including breakups and no contact, and why certain strategies help some and then harm others, and how to actually repair your system instead of fighting against it. If breakups have ever felt like they knock you off your center more than they should, or if advice that works for other people leaves you feeling worse, there's nothing wrong with you. You're dealing with a nervous system, not a moral failure. The work forward for you then isn't just emotional maturity or willpower, it's somatic repair with yourself. So in the next video, we're going to talk specifically about no contact, when it genuinely supports healing, when it quietly prolongs distress, and how to use it as a regulation tool rather than a punishment. Thanks for joining me this far in the series. I hope you're enjoying it as much as I am. I'll see you in the next one. Please do consider liking and subscribing to the channel. It helps us out a lot. And if you already know that you want to train this kind of applied somatics in life, leadership, love, personal evolution, or professionally, consider joining us for a season in the Prestige where we experience all of this in real time with other people just like you. Till next time.